Hello and welcome to Ag PhD. I'm Brian Hefty.
And I'm Darren Hefty. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about cover crops on the show because, let's face it, as wheat is coming off, we've got a long time in many areas, if you're not double cropping, before there's going to be another crop out there. We'll talk about some of the considerations you should have putting a cover crop in.
Well, one of the other things you may want to think about is what you're going to do with your plant tissue analysis. So hopefully you've been pulling some plant tissue samples throughout the summer, but how are you going to use those on your farm to make better fertilizer recommendations? We want to talk about that today.
Well, some of the plant tissue that you're pulling out in your field might just be our weed of the week. Hopefully you're getting rid of this thing. We'll show you how to stop it on your farm. But first, here's this week's Farm Basics.
Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to talk a little about AgPhD Radio, the radio show that airs on SiriusXM channel 147 each weekday at 2 p.m. Central.
Well, you know, for non-farmers, I think one of the things that is interesting is, well, all right, farmers get information somewhere, right? Well, where do they get it from? When you think about it, a lot of farmers look at publications and those kinds of things, whether it's from universities or industry. But when it comes to radio, a lot of the farm stations are really going away across the country. In many smaller communities, radio stations just can't afford to have a farm broadcaster anymore. And so farmers are really looking for good places to find information. Fortunately, SiriusXM added a rural broadcasting channel, rural radio. It's channel 147. It's been on the air now for 3 years, and as Ag PhD, we've been happy to be part of that for the last 3 years to share information with farmers across the country.
One of the things I like about the radio show is we get to do it every day, and in addition to that, we take live phone calls. As opposed to AgPhD TV, our show, we do air a brand new show every week, but it's only a half-hour show. So half an hour once a week versus 1 hour each weekday where we can take live phone calls, well, it's just a lot more fun and a lot more interactive for me because we get to talk to farmers all over the country. So we would invite you to call in to the radio show with any agronomic question. And Darren, I had one of the best comments I've gotten yet about the radio show just recently from an agronomist. He called me up one day and he goes, "Brian, I just got to tell you this, just so you know, but a lot of my farmers listen to the radio show every day, and it's helped make me a better agronomist because I know that for some of these guys, they ask me a question, well then what do? They call you and ask the same question, so I better make sure that I'm getting my answers right." And you know, that's what we're trying to bring to the table, is get an open discussion about agronomy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad agronomic information out there. There's certainly a lot of good information too, but we're just trying to help sort through the good and the bad and help you on your farm.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting is every farm is unique. Farms don't do things exactly the same as the neighboring farm. Everybody's got a little different way of doing things. And what's neat about actually being able to talk to farmers about, hey, I've got this situation going on in Nebraska, and you farm in a different state. How do you do things there? And hey, here's the considerations that I have and why I made that decision. What do you think about that? Is there a better way to do it? And just generating that discussion. Since there aren't really that many farmers left in the country, they just need to talk to each other around the country to find out answers. And looking to different parts of the country is a really good way for farmers to take their farm to the next level and try to avoid some of the mistakes that others have made.
So we invite you to tune into the AgPhD Radio Show. It's each weekday, 2 p.m. Central on SiriusXM channel 147. That's the rural radio channel. And if you're looking for more information, or if you can't remember this phone number I'm going to give you now, just go to agphd.com. But our number is 844-44-AGPHD. You can call in. We take live phone calls each weekday throughout the year.
And even if you're not a farmer, you can hear what farmers are thinking about, what they're talking about, and how your food is being raised. It's pretty interesting. One of the things that farmers are talking about all the time is stopping tough weeds that are robbing yield and hurting food production. We'll show you how to stop this tough weed later in the show.
Technology is constantly changing the way we farm. Hi-Pro innovative spray technologies are here to keep your farm at the forefront of agricultural innovation. With spray application equipment for any scenario, Hi-Pro is here to put you right on technology, right on target.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
A farmer's attention to detail is what makes the difference. You take the time for service management because you know how vital it is to your operation. You service your field like everything else because soil sampling makes all the difference and gets the results you want. Download the app Soil Test Pro and start grid sampling today. Keep your farm growing strong. The more you test, the more you know.
Apply Gypsoil on your farm to add cost-effective sulfur to soils and improve soil structure. Gypsoil increases calcium and helps flush excess magnesium in tight soils, improve air and water infiltration, and reduce problem wet spots and crusting. Better soil quality means better water quality, so Gypsoil is good for the environment too. For more information about putting Gypsoil to work on your farm, call 866-GYPSOIL or 497-7645. Visit online at gypsoil.com.
At Fisher Tradition Farms, we Verus all of our acres, and any new additional acres are automatically Verused. Verus maps allow us to know exactly where our soil types change and how much they change. We use AgroLiquid's Enhance, High Energy N, and Access that allows us to add sulfur. We can customize our AgroLiquid products on a per pound, per acre basis as needed.
As weed resistance becomes more of a problem across the country, your crop protection program needs to stay flexible to be effective. Hi-Pro Innovative Spray Technology's wide selection of spray tips and nozzle configurations are available to keep your crop protection program right on technology, right on target.
Plant tissue analysis. Hopefully you're using this on your farm to supplement your data, supplement your information that you have about fertility. It's incredibly important. It's not meant to take the place of a soil test, but what it is meant to do is give you an idea throughout the season how your plants are doing on any individual day in terms of overall plant nutrients. So we want to talk a little about how you take plant tissue analysis and turn that into a recommendation for fertility for your farm.
Well, I've always said the plant tissue analysis is the report card for the farmer. Yep, you can know what's in your soil and you can apply fertility to your soil, and that is great. That's the right place to start. But really, you have to get that fertilizer or that plant food into the plant to be successful. And by taking plant tissue analysis, you can see, all right, what is actually getting into our plant. Now, plant tissue analysis can be a little bit deceiving. It's kind of like, well, you could get a B for your math grade and just barely be getting by and really not understanding the concepts, and you may have a B today, but it may be on the way down. Or you could have a B because you stumbled once, but your grade is really on the way up. So it can be a little bit deceiving. What I mean is this. Let's say that you have a tissue test that comes back and you say, man, I am short in sulfur. And if immediately you think, wow, my tissue test says I'm short in sulfur, I'm going to go out and apply sulfur and I'm going to do great. You know what? There may be plenty of sulfur in your soil. It may just not have rained for a while. And once you get some moisture, that sulfur comes available and moves into the plant and everything's fine, and it didn't cost you a penny just to wait for a few days till you get the rain.
Or not just rain, it could just be, oh, my roots are really small, but as soon as my roots get a little bigger, they're going to hit this great big reservoir of sulfur that I've got in the soil. So that's the thing that we don't know with the plant tissue test, and we have a much better idea, much better understanding with the soil test. How much is really in the soil that we can use throughout the season? Nevertheless, what we do suggest you do in terms of plant tissue analysis is take samples each and every week throughout the growing season for at least 8 to 12 weeks. You do it early in the grass crops, you do it just a little bit later in the broadleaf crops, like maybe starting a month after planting or something with soybeans, for example. But anyway, what you can do then is take these plant tissue analysis results and take a look at them and say, all right, now what do I need to address on my farm? So for example, if we're short on zinc and we were short in the soil test, we put just a little bit on, but we said, oh, well, that's maybe not quite enough. And then we see, uh-oh, I've got 4 weeks in a row where I've been short on zinc in my plant tissue analysis. Now what should I do with that? How do I turn that into a recommendation?
You've been short on zinc all along, so what would we do? Well, what I would do is try and get some zinc out there. Now you have to think a little bit about what nutrient you're dealing with here. Zinc does not move around very much in the soil. So doing a foliar application, that may be a good way to try and get some zinc out for your crop. I'd recommend something that's chelated so you don't get it tied up, and so you try to get it into that plant so it can be effective for you. Now you may say, well, hold on, I was going to side dress. So what about just putting zinc in my side dress? You certainly can do it that way, but again, zinc doesn't move around very much, so it's going to take a little time before your root system is going to find that zinc and fully explore through that zone where the zinc is at. For my money, I'd go ahead and do that foliar feed. Now you also may be thinking, well, hold on here, I've been short all along. I need to actually get some pounds out here in my ground, and I would agree with you on that. If it was my ground, I would be thinking, you know what, this fall, I'm going to be getting some zinc out there.
Yeah,
or next spring, before my crop is planted, I'm going to be getting some zinc out there.
But before we get to what are we going to do next year with this, we need to talk about what are we going to do this year with this. And one of the most important things to understand is, hey, if we've shown a soil test is low or deficient, we've had 4 tissue tests in a row that have been low or deficient, we've probably already given up some yield, all right? So we can't recover lost yield. What we can do is hopefully stop any future yield loss by getting more zinc out there today. We've never had the greatest consistent success with foliar feeding, in part because you can only get a little bit in terms of nutrients into the plant. So if you want to foliar feed 6 more times with low rates of zinc, you'll probably have better results than just going out there one time.
Hold on, now here's the other side of that is, you're going out after you know you had a problem.
That's right.
For many guys, they don't even know they've got a problem. They've already lost the yield. Now they go out, they throw the zinc on, and it looks great. Oh, the crop responds. Everything looks just fine. But in the meantime, well, I already gave up 10 bushel, 20 bushel, whatever. So now instead of 200 bushel corn, I get 180, and I say, man, I'm disappointed with that foliar zinc. You know what? Maybe you only would have got 160 if you wouldn't have addressed the zinc out there.
Well,
I don't know.
But here's the whole thing. What we want you to do when you look at these plant tissue tests and you see, oh, I've got a problem, is start addressing it by trying some things. So nobody has the exact answer, and that's probably the main thing that we wanted to stress to you here. There is no set formula for, oh, I'm deficient in zinc with this tissue test, I need to put on 0.2 pounds and that will correct that issue. Nobody knows that exactly. So you need to try some things on your farm, try it in some strips, document it, figure it out, and then use that in the future. Let's talk now about next year. That's the main thing we use plant tissue analysis for, is to say, all right, our soil test said we were good, but we were short 8 out of 12 times in terms of zinc when we did tissue tests. Well, that tells me that, yes, our soil test might have said okay, but you know what? Maybe that soil test information isn't giving me all the information I need. I'm going to try bumping that zinc rate, whether that's through a broadcast application in the fall or in the spring, whether that's through banding some more next spring when I'm planting. I'm just going to do something to try to get my zinc levels higher.
Well, I think it's interesting when you talk to the highest yielding farmers around the country in whatever crop. I don't care if it's a vegetable crop or wheat or soybeans or corn or whatever. When you talk to the highest yielding producers, they say, you know what, good is not good enough. So, yep, my soil test says I'm good in potassium, but I know I'm going to raise a phenomenal alfalfa crop, and it needs so much more potassium than just a good level. I have to get to an excellent level on potassium if I want to be successful in my field. Whereas the guy that says, I'm raising 2 tons of hay per year, a good level of potassium is plenty for me. So it's going to vary depending on where you're at, and you just have to understand your farm operation, what your goals are, and what your historic production has been. So you have to be realistic in, you know what, I'm going to get 2 ton of hay, or I'm going to get 10 ton of hay. That's a whole different deal when you're looking at a soil test.
And either way, we suggest that you do some plant tissue analysis throughout the year. I'd rather have you take fewer spots and do it more often than take a whole bunch of spots just one time. We really want to track how this progresses each week throughout the growing season, again, for at least 8 to 12 weeks.
And it's not hard work. It only takes a few minutes to pull a plant tissue test, but it could change your economic future on your farm and the way you manage your soil. So it could be great for the environment and your pocketbook just to take a few minutes a week to do this.
Well, another thing that could be great for your pocketbook is controlling our Weed of the Week. We'll help you control this tough weed coming up later in the show.
Apply Gypsoil on your farm to add cost-effective sulfur to soils and improve soil structure. Gypsoil increases calcium and helps flush excess magnesium in tight soils, improve air and water infiltration, and reduce problem wet spots and crusting. Better soil quality means better water quality, so Gypsoil is good for the environment too. For more information about putting Gypsoil to work on your farm, call 866-GYPSOIL or 497-7645. Visit online at gypsoil.com.
I would recommend Morton for many reasons, but one is that they have a long history of standing behind their buildings.
Our sales experience with Morton was a nice experience. You know, they told us what it was going to cost, what it was going to be, you know, how it was going to run, and it worked out really well for us.
Morton has built me one heck of a nice building, and it should stand for a very, very long time. I was very happy with the workmanship.
Check us out online at mortonbuildings.com.
With the success of the Case IH Tiger Quad Track and Magnum Road Track tractors, it's no secret why Case IH is the leader of the track. So it wasn't surprising when the competition started imitating us. But only Case IH offers a 5-axle design to give you a smoother ride, more power to the ground, with less berming and compaction. Still, we're flattered. In fact, if we weren't already red, we'd be blushing.
When there's work to be done on your farm, you can't afford to be grounded. Whether for repair or upgrade, you need quality new, used, and rebuilt parts fast. Worthington Ag Parts has what you need, and our distribution network offers same-day service to much of the country. And with 15% off all parts ordered in July, now's a great time to get to know us. Worthington Ag Parts, providing quality parts at quality prices and adding value to your farm operations for over 50 years.
Are you storing grain in your bin from last harvest? You will want to avoid running your bin fans when the air is warm and wet to avoid sprouting and spoilage. The AgriDry Bullseye Controller has the capability to automatically run your fans when the weather conditions are safe for quality grain control. Stop monitoring the weather or babysitting your bins and let the Bullseye Controller keep your grain safe. Visit agridryllc.com to find your local dealer today.
One of the most popular questions we've gotten at AgPhD over the last couple of years is, should I plant cover crops?
On our farm, we plant cover crops as soon as that wheat comes off in the summer. We're putting cover crops out there right away. We want to try to get maximum growth out of that cover crop. We want to keep something growing in our fields as much of the year as we possibly can, and there are certainly benefits there for all the soil microbes.
But the challenge is, for us, where we farm, by the time we're pulling our corn and soybeans out of the field, a lot of times the frost is only 3 or 4 weeks away. I mean, literally, we can't even plant anything in the ground. There's nothing that's going to grow that late. So our challenge in the northern part of the country is we just can't plant cover crops late in the fall. But in many areas of the country, they can, and there are a lot of benefits. One of the big things is preventing nitrogen from going down in the system. These are good things for a number of different reasons.
Yeah, having a crop out there to hold those leachable nutrients is great, because then we can recover them pretty easy as that plant material breaks down and the next crop is out there to take those nutrients in as they're released from that other crop material. The other challenge we have, Brian, you said a short season, growing season. The other one is it's a dry season. And when we're pretty dry, seeding cover crop into standing crop becomes a little more erratic for us. Some years you could get some good rains in September, and all of a sudden, hey, those cover crop seeds that got put out late August, early September for the crop that we're going to harvest October 1st, hey, it could be successful for us. But if we get no rain,
yeah,
then
that's
we aren't
always
gonna
the
get it to
challenge
grow.
for everybody. But the other challenge is herbicides. We're worried about residual herbicides, and some guys take it too far and they say, you know what, I think this HPPD is going to hurt my cover crop, so I'm not even going to use any HPPD on my farm. And then they've got weed issues. What we're trying to say is focus on your main crop first. I wouldn't even think about what cover crop I'm raising until I get the weeds under control. If I can't control the weeds with the herbicide you want to use, you have to use something else. And yes, it might ding up your cover crop, but there are so many different cover crops you can plant. We suggest you plant a grass, a broadleaf, and a deep-rooted plant like a turnip or radish. Have a blend. Don't just do one cover crop. And I know some guys are going out there with just one. We absolutely do not recommend that. We want to get as much diversity there in terms of soil life, in terms of plant life. That's going to be the best for your soil in most cases.
One challenge with cover crops is many farmers plant things that they normally wouldn't plant. So make sure you can actually kill that cover crop when the time comes.
The other big question we get is, will there be yield gain next year after I've planted a cover crop? It all depends on your situation, but all we can say is long term, it's a good thing for building organic matter, reducing erosion, and many other things. So long term, you have a lot of benefits and you should have yield gain.
Well, a good short-term and long-term investment is keeping weeds under control. We'll show you how to stop our weed of the week coming up next.
Our weed of the week is common speedwell.
It's one of those weeds that you see all over the place and you say, oh yeah, I've seen that weed, but you really don't know what it is. It's a winter annual weed that is not that competitive to our crop. So I'm not going to scare you here and say, wow, if you don't get common speedwell under control, you're going to have a disaster in your field.
Well, the thing that I don't like about it is a winter annual. So a lot of times it can be big once you're out there in a no-till situation, especially if you run into kind of a late planted situation. So that's why we're excited about some of the new traits that are coming in soybeans, like the Extend, the Enlist, the Balance Bean. But you know what? Roundup's still pretty good on this particular weed, so we're not too terribly worried about it.
All right, in corn, I would start with Verdict down. I really like the pre-emerge product since you have a winter annual, and the other thing with Verdict is they're sharpened in there. So if you're in a no-till situation or reduced till, you're going to burn down the speedwell that's up, then follow up with Status if there's any that gets through.
In wheat, what we would suggest is start with Sharpen once again. That should do a nice job pre-emerge. Then Gold Sky post-emerge we've had pretty good luck with. Some people use 2,4-D and that can work fine. It's just we don't like the effect that 2,4-D has on the wheat.
Or even Wide Match with Addition Broad Spec has been pretty good. When you look at soybeans, our 3 pre-emerge strategy works well. You have to do a good burn down again if you're in a no-till situation because we're dealing with the winter annual.
Well, that's it for our Weed of the Week Common Speedwell, but stay tuned. Iron Talk is coming up next.
Are you looking for an easy way to apply dry powdered products to your stored grain? Do you want to use the applicator recommended by industry leaders for products like Diacon-D and other dry powder products? Changing Time CT applicators successfully apply a diversity of products quickly, easily, and accurately. The innovative CT applicators are designed to give you the most accurate application of products such as talc, inoculants, fertilizers, and other dry products. For commercial use or on the farm, you need the applicator industry leaders are using. CT applicators for the changing times.
When there's work to be done on your farm, you can't afford to be grounded. Whether for repair or upgrade, you need quality new, used, and rebuilt parts fast. Worthington Ag Parts has what you need, and our distribution network offers same-day service to much of the country. And with 15% off all parts ordered in July, now's a great time to get to know us. Worthington Ag Parts, providing quality parts at quality prices and adding value to your farm operations for over 50 years.
We have a school and a church nearby. I actually go to the classroom to educate the students about what's going on here on my farm. The system that I have, I tie everything together. No-till, cover crops. We applied AgriLiquid in furrow with our soybeans this year. It seemed like they jumped out of the soil, even though we had the record rainfall. I really feel that I'm feeding my plant on a consistent year-round basis throughout the growing season.
There are trillions of hardworking microbes right beneath your feet. Today, Monsanto BioAg is harnessing the power of microbes, creating microscopic farmhands that help plants access nutrients, enhance root and shoot growth, and handle stressful conditions throughout the season, protecting and maximizing your yield potential. We're turning 500 trillion microbes into 500 trillion new farmhands, ready for work. Nature, it's powerful technology.
Introducing the SoilMax ZD48, the newest addition to the SoilMax Gold Digger lineup. The first plow designed for smaller class tractors, the ZD48 has been tested on tractors weighing between 10,000 and 16,000 pounds with excellent results. Designed for row crop farms, vineyards, irrigation, and specialty crop farms. The SoilMax ZD48 will install tile up to 48 inches deep, as well as install 3 or 4-inch tile. The ZD48 truly opens up the world of tile installation to more farms than ever before.
Iron Talk is brought to you by Case IH.
The AFS Connect Farm Management System from Case IH connects you, and only you, to the information you need most from your equipment, from anywhere, at any time. AFS Connect, only from Case IH.
Why do people just assume the big companies are out to destroy nature and ruin your life? Why do people think farmers would actually try to kill bees? It just doesn't make sense, but some people feel that way. There's little doubt that more attention is being placed on the safety of insecticide applications around bees than ever before. It's the topic for today's Iron Talk. There are some herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides that could potentially impact bees. Here are some tips you can implement on your farm to reduce the impact of spray applications around bees. First of all, anytime you're going to be spraying an insecticide, you should give some notice to area beekeepers. There are online registries of bee colonies that you can consult to see if there are bees in your area. But likely you already know about the beekeepers working around you, so stay in touch with them throughout the season. Next, you can target times of day when the bees aren't going to be in your fields at all. Spraying late in the day or when the weather's a little cooler can both be opportune times for you to do your job when the bees aren't very active. Spraying before your crop is flowering is generally a best agronomic practice, but it's also a time where bees aren't generally in your fields. Hitting the weeds before they flower as well ensures that they won't go to seed and that pollinators aren't already tending to them. Product selection is very important too. We avoid using the neonicotinoid insecticides on our farm as that family of chemistry is under fire. These products don't kill the bees immediately, and they can be carried back to the hives where they can do even more damage. Save your neonics for seed treatment use only, and lessen your chance of hurting bees and of losing this useful chemistry forever. Another good practice is to avoid spraying when there is dew or shortly before the dew comes on at night. Not only does this potentially lead to spray running off the leaf, it also increases your rainfast time substantially, and it leaves the insecticide on the leaves longer, resulting in more time where that application could be dangerous for nearby bees and pollinators. Finally, use labeled rates so the long-term impact in fields is known. To reduce problems related to drift, use larger spray droplets, lower your spray pressure, and keep spray booms as close to the crop as you can while still maintaining the optimum spray pattern. Many of these tips are simply good practices for spraying anything, but when it comes to protecting off-target bees and pollinators, they quickly become essential practices. That's all for today's Iron Talk, and now, back to the show.
Closed captioning for AgPhD is sponsored by Norwood Sales.
On your farm, you need speed and year-round effectiveness in your tillage program. The Quick Till from Norwood Sales allows you to move quickly through your fields, maximizing time and improving yield. Constructed of heavy-duty materials, the Quick Till is ideal for both spring and fall applications, from preparing a healthy seedbed early in the season to breaking up corn residue after harvest. For more information about how a Quick Till can improve fields on your farm, call Norwood Sales today.
That's all the time we have for today's show, but before we go, we want to invite you to tune in to the AgPhD Radio Show. You'll find us each weekday on SiriusXM Channel 147 at 2 p.m. Central, where we take your live phone calls.
And don't miss the next AgPhD TV show. We'll have another Weed of the Week, Farm Basics, Iron Talk, and a whole lot more. I'm Darren Hefty.
And I'm Brian Hefty. Thanks for watching AgPhD.
Did you realize that a healthy soil only contains about 50% dirt? In order for the soil microbes and plants to work together properly, soil should contain 25% air and 25% water. Today's farming practices are designed around maintaining that healthy balance. To learn more, visit the Responsible Nutrient Management Foundation at rnmf.org.